The murder of Vanessa Guillen, a 20-year-old United States Army soldier, took place inside an armory at Fort Hood, Texas, on April 22, 2020, when she was bludgeoned to death by another soldier, Aaron David Robinson. Guillen had been missing for over 2 months when some of her dismembered remains were found buried along the Leon River on June 30. Upon hearing about the discovery, Robinson fled Fort Hood and fatally shot himself when law enforcement attempted to apprehend him in nearby Killeen, Texas. Cecily Aguilar, a local woman identified by authorities as Robinson's girlfriend, was taken into custody and is alleged to have assisted him in dismembering and burying Guillen's body. On July 2, 2020, Aguilar was charged with 1 federal count of conspiracy to tamper with evidence. 3. On July 13, 2021, she was indicted on 11 counts by a federal grand jury. Guillen was stationed at Fort Hood, a U.S. Army installation in Bell County, Texas, which is approximately 340 square miles, 880 square kilometers, in size and home to 3 Corps and the 1st Cavalry Division. She was last seen around 1 p.m. on April 22, 2020, in the parking lot of her unit, the Regimental Engineer Squadron headquarters of the 3rd Cavalry Regiment, 3CR. Her car keys, identification card, bank card, and barracks key were found inside the armory where she worked. Guillen's family felt she disappeared under suspicious circumstances. The case was investigated under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Command, CID, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, with local law enforcement agencies in Bell County, Killeen, and Belton, the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, the United States Marshal Service, and the Texas Ranger Division in support. Multiple Fort Hood units, including 3CR, began searching the area within 2 weeks of her disappearance. Before Guillen went missing, she had told her family that she was being sexually harassed by an unnamed sergeant at Fort Hood, and that complaints by other female soldiers made against the sergeant had been dismissed. Guillen's mother advised her to report the matter, but she responded that she could put a stop to it herself, 16, out of fear that her mother would be harmed for making a report. In early June, Guillen's mother told reporters she did not trust the Army's handling of the investigation, and her attorney, Natalie Kawam, said she believed the family was being kept in the dark because few details had been released regarding the disappearance. On June 13, 2020, hundreds of people assembled at the gates of Fort Hood to protest what organizers felt was a lack of information on the case. CID reported that they found no evidence that Guillen was assaulted, but said investigators believed foul play was involved in her disappearance. On June 30, 2020, Army investigators were called in when contractors discovered partial human remains along the Leon River in Belton. The area had previously been searched by Texas Rangers, detectives, and cadaver dogs on June 20 after a burn mound was discovered nearby. Investigators theorized that the remains, previously buried under concrete, had been dug up by wildlife. Tim Miller, director of Texas X Search, stated that it was the most sophisticated burial site he had ever seen. Later that evening, at around 8:30 p.m., authorities re-interviewed Cecily and Aguilar, a local woman who was the estranged wife of a soldier at Fort Hood. Aguilar was reported to be the girlfriend of Aaron David Robinson, a specialist-ranked enlisted soldier who was one of the last known people to see Guillen on the day of her disappearance and who had previously been interviewed by investigators. Aguilar told police that Robinson had confessed to her that he had killed a female soldier at Fort Hood. At the request of law enforcement, Aguilar placed a controlled telephone call to Robinson, who said, "Baby, they found pieces," and texted Aguilar multiple news articles, to which he never denied anything in response. According to a criminal complaint filed in the Western District Court of Texas, Aguilar allegedly helped Robinson dismember and dispose of Guillen's body on April 22, 2020, after Robinson told her he had bludgeoned Guillen to death with a hammer inside the armory. On the evening of June 30, Robinson escaped the custody of an unarmed guard from his unit and fled Fort Hood after hearing the news of the discovery of remains. He had been detained by his unit at the request of a CID agent under the pretense of violating COVID-19 quarantine rules. In the early hours of July 1, Killeen police located and attempted to make contact with Robinson, who produced a handgun and killed himself before he could be taken into custody. Aguilar was arrested by Texas Rangers and held at the Bell County Jail. On July 2, Bell County officials stated Aguilar would be transferred to federal custody due to being charged with one count of conspiracy to tamper with evidence by the United States Attorney's Office, Western District of Texas. Assistant United States Attorneys Mark Frazier and Greg Gloff are prosecuting the case on behalf of the federal government. On May 24, 2022, the Texas Department of Public Safety released a report stating that Aguilar later explained why Robinson killed Guillen, saying Guillen saw Robinson's cell phone lock screen, which contained a picture of Aguilar. Robinson told her he was worried about getting in trouble for violating the Army's fraternization rules since Aguilar was still married to another soldier and he hit Guillen in the head with a hammer. Her parent fought for a memorial for her. Plus I Am Vanessa Guillen is going to air on Netflix November 17, 2022.